Hello, Philly Yellow Jackets! Did you have a good summer? I'm Caitlin, back with another season of Toying with Games. This month, we're covering a game that has become near and dear to my heart, despite only being out for a few months. Octopath Traveler is a Nintendo Switch exclusive, released on July 13th of this year. The game has received critical acclaim, receiving a 9.3 out of 10 on IGN and an 83% on Metacritic. Octopath has received high praise for its graphical style, musical score, mechanics, and short but sweet stories. In fact, there's almost too much for me to cover. With that said, I'm excited to announce my newest series, Side Quests. Side Quest is a podcast that will be covering everything that can't be covered within our Toying with Games videos and will often feature guest speakers. Side Quest launches today alongside this video, and so we will be having a more in-depth analysis of Octopath's 8 Travelers. Without further ado, let's jump into this game and explore what makes it so awesome. First off, let's take a brief look at the story. Octopath Traveler's story is unique in the sense that it doesn't have a single story. All 8 of the protagonists have their own story to tell. Therion must retrieve 3 lost dragon stones.
I'm just fulfilling my half of a bargain. Nothing more, nothing less.
I understand that, but...
He's right, milady. This is simply an agreement between us and a skilled but short-sighted thief.
Haunit must leave her home in search of her master.
Hagen here came in seeking my help. In his letter, he said he was bound for Stonegard. We shall begin our search there.
Ophelia must complete a sacred rite in her sister's stead.
And so my journey begins. To Saintsbridge, Goldshore, and finally back to Flamesgrace. Light the flames in each town. Perform the kindling as our forebears have. I'll be gone for a while, but if ever you or Father need me, please send for me at once.
Cyrus sets out to search for a long-lost
Not at all,
home.
Headmaster. On the contrary, this might prove the perfect opportunity.
Opportunity? For what?
As a matter of fact, there is a matter which has piqued my interest of late. I was just wondering when I might find the time to do a bit of research in the field.
Tressa leaves home in order to hone her trade as a merchant.
It's time I see the world!
What?
I'm going to leave Rippletide and become a traveling merchant. I'll see the world and have customers from every corner of the realm.
Ulberich sets out to find an old comrade and get revenge for a fallen kingdom.
And visit us. No matter how far your journey takes you, you always have a home here.
Thank you. And with that, I had best...
Philip!
It's all right. It was a good blow, lad. You're strong.
Primrose sets out for a different kind of revenge, hunting for those who killed her father.
Won't you dance? One last dance for me.
Alphen sets out to learn more about being an apothecary. While some of these stories have their similarities, the manner in which they are presented and the characters that lie within them make each of them unique from the others.
Just how far my talents will go. I'm gonna save folks the world over, just like the man who saved me. Keep an eye on me, would ya?
Each story has 4 chapters, with each chapter taking me about an hour to complete. That means that completing every story should take about 32 hours, give or take. However, this doesn't include all of the side quests and mini-dungeons held within the game. We're out of time for a more in-depth look like we usually have, but for more, feel free to check out the Side Quest podcast. Next up, gameplay. What makes Octopath different from other JRPGs? In an interview with the game's producers, Masashi Takahashi and Tomoya Asano, they stated that Octopath Traveler was meant to be a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy VI. When comparing the two games side by side, one can certainly see the similarities. However, Octopath Traveler does have a few mechanics that Final Fantasy VI did not, and they certainly set it apart. Firstly, Octopath Traveler has what is called a boost system. Every turn, a character gains 1 BP, or boost point. BP can be used in a variety of ways, from upping your defense, increasing the number of attacks you perform, or increasing the power of class-specific attacks. Once unlocked, they can even be used to cast divine skills. However, one must take note that after using BP, it'll take a turn before you start to recharge. Be careful with how you use it. Another thing worth noting is that traditionally, when you start a story mode, you have to play all the way through. If Octopath followed that, that would mean you'd have to play through your original 4 characters before playing through the other 4. However, this is not the case. In Octopath Traveler, any character's story can be interrupted at any time simply by visiting a tavern. This gives you a ton of freedom as the player when it comes to how you clear the game. While not unique to Octopath, class changes are also present. After clearing everyone's first chapter, you will be able to visit shrines. Visiting these shrines give you access to all classes in the game. For example, if you wanted Haunted to have access to thief skills, you would visit the Shrine of the Prince of Thieves to gain access to that class. However, this is not to say you can have an entire party of thieves. Only one character can have any given job at a time while retaining their original class. This means Haunted, while having the Thief class, retains access to her Hunter skills. Since Haunted has Thief equipped though, the other members of her party, save for Therion if included, cannot be thieves. While this system may seem a little complicated, it's quite easy to get used to. It's also worth noting that if a character switches classes, all of their skills will be retained. This means if they switch back later, they won't have to relearn skills. Since we're through with positives, let's look at some of the negatives of Octopath Traveler. As is true with many JRPGs, there may come a time when you simply aren't strong enough to beat that next boss, or an area is too dangerous to pass through. At this time, you go back and continuously level up until you're strong enough. We call this grinding for EXP, and while many JRPGs make use of this system, Octopath falls somewhat short. While it is true that you can change locations in order not to get tired of the same enemies, there are only a few locations where you can truly optimize the amount of XP you're getting. This means you could end up spending anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes in the same spot depending on how underleveled you are. However, this could also turn out to simply be an issue of patience. I do believe you're intended to complete all of your party's first chapters before continuing, but if you want to tackle one story at a time, you may have a hard time doing so. Next, there's the issue of story length, which again may simply be personal preference. According to the math we did earlier, each character's story should total at about 4 hours long, give or take. Obviously, this is considered extremely short for a story mode. While the stories aren't rushed, there was certainly more room for character development and overall growth in their storylines. This could have been accomplished had they spread out the stories just a bit more. However, these problems are again remedied if you change how you play. Octopath is, at its best, most likely meant to be a collection of short stories. Plus, again, you aren't meant to simply charge through one character's story. These two things make up for the short story lengths and make them more enjoyable. By jumping between stories, not only do you increase your playtime, but you also get a better feel for the game's world. The story length encourages you to enjoy the game at its fullest. Alright, let's wrap this up. Overall, Octopath Traveler really does have a lot to offer its players. The world really is expansive and beautiful if you take the time to explore it, and the HD 2D graphical style lends itself to that. While battle may at times get repetitive, you have plenty of places to explore in order to avoid getting tired out. Plus, you have 8 different stories to keep you invested, and an open-ended class system to keep things interesting. If you're interested, Octopath Traveler is $60 for Nintendo Switch. This has been Caitlin for the Jacket Journal. I'll see you guys next month, and be sure to check out the SideQuest podcast for a more in-depth look.